Okay, we will call a meeting to order. It is Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can't believe you guys started that.
You're tardy.
Yeah.
These are the principal's office. Do we have any
Will be the first time.
minutes and reports received filed?
Yes, we do. We have the county clerk's August 2021 fees, collector's August 2021 fees, auditor's August 2021 revenue and expenditure report, and the treasurer's August 2021 reconciliation report.
Yes, you did.
And I'd also like to put in there the notice that we put in the paper for the local use tax. So I just want that filed with the county clerk.
Yeah, I
Okay.
saw that too. Yeah, I've got, so I really read public notices anymore. Okay, Commissioner Committee Liaison Reports, upcoming meetings and events.
The planning commission meeting tonight. I guess we got a bid opening on Thursday, Chamber Connections Thursday, Friends of DNRA banquet Thursday. I think that's about it.
I have an invitation to tour the Catholic Charities Center, which is the old Scheikels, on Wednesday the 15th. 16th, I have a Heartland Port Authority meeting. 17th, a state tech event. And Saturday the 18th is the Bicentennial Parade.
Yep. I have a National Guard meeting tonight. Tomorrow we're meeting with Governor Parson. We're going to give him, this is the bicentennial Governor McNair Medal at the Sons of the American Revolution. We're doing that. And then I've also got a medal from the Sons of the Union Veterans. So school meeting at 1:30 tomorrow. Thursday Night Live. The Bicentennial Parade and Ball. Sunday is St. Michael's Fall Festival in Russellville, and you can go see, have Debbie wait on you.
Frank's awesome.
Monday is our medical WebEx, and then at night I've got the Cap Region Bill Quid Golf Tournament. I get to give awards and stuff, so that's all I've got. Any commission comments? Bids and contracts. Renewal of 2019-29 natural gas agreement.
This is the second renewal with Pro Energy Solutions on our natural gas contract. They're increasing the rate from 0.44 from 0.14 last year. I spoke with Greg regarding it, and he is okay with the increase.
Greg, what buildings is that on? Sheriff's
Sheriff
Department.
Building and EMS.
So we're
And
locking
courts.
it in.
Courthouse, and the courthouse.
Okay, so we're locking it in, so we
Yes.
won't have any.
Locking in at what usage we had last year, and then if we go over, then we'll have to pay the market price.
Yeah, I know that hit some communities pretty hard last year, so. It's a heck of an increase, though, from 1.4 to,
If you look at the gas commodity index for the last 6 months, it's been going up steadily.
yeah, yeah.
And then Houston just got hit with our tropical or hurricane warning again.
Yeah.
Did you send us those prices?
No, I don't think I did.
So it's going point.
It was at 0.14 and going to 0.44.
Oh, was it 4.4 or 0.4?
0.14 to 0.44.
Okay.
It's a tripling of the cost. Is that right? And change.
Yeah.
We still have saved extremely compared to going through the electric.
Right, okay. So do we have a agreement to sign here then?
We have 4 of them, 1 for each building. There's 2 at EMS, 4, and then the law enforcement center.
So when we bid that the last time, what did we come up with, or what were the bids at, or what was the differences, or?
We knew it would change because of the market depending on each year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just saying, if they're gonna triple it though, is it we're looking at bidding it again?
I think Pro Energy was the only one that bid on it in
Yes,
2019.
Only
Mhm.
one company?
One company, yeah. That's what Chris and I
Okay.
want to put it out, that's the only company that did it last year.
Need to look at why we're not having anybody else price it again.
I think it's too volatile. The market is just so,
I'm a little confused or in the dark on natural gas. Is this, I mean, doesn't Ameren sell the natural gas here?
We are buying it cheaper than
We use their pipe that we.
Okay, so, I mean, it's not a propane, it's not in tanks, it's coming in natural gas, but,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I was thinking we had more people that bid it the last time. Was it the first time when we had more people bid it or something?
Yeah, that was back when Mark was still here, we had 3 at that time, and then it's just, then it was 2, and then just this one the last 2 times.
Okay. I think like you said, it's tripling. It's a huge increase, and if they know they're the only ones bidding on it, then they can kind of throw that in there, but.
If you look at the market this morning, it's up again.
yeah, I think a lot of them don't want to take the risk.
And when we went this way, we did have to pay for a separate meter for each one of those buildings for that to come through, different than Ameren. So we have a little investment on going this way.
Okay. One of our, a town in a neighboring county was hammered hard last year, right? Because they
Yes.
didn't pre-buy.
Right.
Yes.
And we're talking about millions of dollars.
Yeah.
For those, or hundreds of
Last year
thousands.
it only cost us, maybe $3,000 or $4,000 over last year, is what we didn't lock in.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we need to, we need to do this. It's just,
Utility company, though, I don't think that was what they just used in their buildings.
I'm not sure how that town did.
I'm not sure it'd get us any better price bidding it out, so.
Well-
You know, we could come in higher, so.
And at this point, that puts us further into winter. That would really probably change the pricing, I would think.
I think if you turn the gas off to EMS and let us use it, I think it'll be okay.
Hey, wait a minute, that's going to the whole building.
It's 2 to 1.
Yeah.
Number, y'all voted
I
on.
digress.
no, I think we have to do that, I think.
Can we have those
Yep.
various contracts, or I'll let,
I'm fine with moving on. but
I am
I'm not
too.
using it as excuses. We waited till the last minute, so we have to go with this, and that's not an excuse at all.
We can bid it out if,
Yeah.
Just puts it out 30 days.
yeah.
We got 4 contracts here, this
Yeah.
is 4 buildings,
It's for the 4 buildings.
so we can do it all in one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're good moving with it.
mhm.
Make a motion to renew the natural gas contract with Pro Energy Solutions.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Approval and signing of Carte fiscal year 2022 agreement.
So this agreement is with the Missouri Department of Conservation. For the CART program, which is the County Aid Road Trust, they get funding just like we do for maintenance of roads coming out of the gas tax from the state. And they will provide funding for maintenance of county roads, rock maintenance for county roads that access conservation properties, conservation sites. And so the 3 in question are Scribner Road Conservation Area. There's a one on Birdhaven Road, the Smith Conservation Area, and then Marion Bottoms Conservation Area. It affects several county roads. It's upwards of $25,000 total that we could get reimbursed for over the course of the year. And I believe we've done this in the past, but it's been several years. Brian, you?
2006, I think, was the last time it was submitted, and we resubmitted it this year.
So,
With some changes because there was several roads that weren't on there before.
so it's a good thing for us, upwards of $25,000 to provide rock for these roads. And it's the roads, I could list them, but it's Clayoil Road, Scott Road, Dawson Road, Clyburn Road, Birdhaven, and Montauk Creek Road. And our crews will, when the time comes and we get the agreement approved, they'll put the rock on the road, and it could be anywhere from now until springtime, and the invoices have to be submitted to them for reimbursement by May of next year. So I would recommend approval. This is a good thing for the county to receive some of these funds for work that we're doing anyway on these county roads. So I'd recommend approval of this agreement with the Missouri Department of Conservation.
So what about down in Osage City? That's
That actually is in, it's not a county maintained road where it's accessed.
There's none of that is.
None of the levee.
More that's county.
None of the levee road is maintained by the county. That the gravel, this is just for gravel roads. And, the levee road down in Osage, City, going to that conservation ground down there that whole levee is maintained by conservation.
Okay.
So that would not apply.
I didn't know if we had some of that was gravel going into the levee or to that area, so.
We maintain right to that first conservation area, and it's paved all the way to that portion.
Okay.
Yeah, this only applies for gravel.
Okay.
A motion to sign the agreement between the County of Cole and the Missouri Department of Conservation for the, what's a good term for this? Roadway improvement and maintenance to afford a suitable access to Scrivener Road Conservation Area, the Smith Conservation Area, and the Marion Bottoms Conservation Area.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approval and signing of Screen Assist LLC agreement.
This, excuse me, this is the background check agreement I emailed to each of you for pay-per-use screening, background screening on any candidates that we need for criminal background checks or other things. I did run it by Jill. Jill approved. We anticipate that the cost would be a less than $1,000 a year. If it were to go above that, then we would, of course, bid it out.
God, can't get caught up.
Need a motion on this, right?
Yes.
To sign that agreement.
A motion to sign the Screen Assist agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Approval and signing of the professional service agreement for Carnegie building site improvements.
I sent you guys the proposals that we received from Patrick with CMPS about the Carnegie building additions. That includes the design work, material testing, inspection, and observation. For the construction and testing, inspection and observation, the proposal was $4,691, and for the design services, it was $16,980. And then Eric can go into more details about the design.
This is the standard agreement we use for professional engineering services for projects that we do. Most of the design work was previous work that was done for the project that was bid. And then in talking with Patrick, there's some items that we talked about as far as overlaying the parking lots that we're gonna do next year that we need to upgrade as far as concrete goes around Carnegie. And so a little more cost to design that work to make it to where when we do the overlay, it'll match and everything will drain properly. So that was the additional work on the design side of it. And then on the construction, testing, observation, and inspection. Again, similar things that we do on our projects, and it'll retain them to do all that work and manage that part of it from the county standpoint. So, again, this is the standard format we use when we're doing our projects.
I got two proposals there. What's the difference between, one is the engineering and design, and one's to
One's
do
the
the
con-
testing and,
Mhm.
okay.
And they're shown as exhibits in the agreement. And the total amount is $21,671. That's not to exceed. So they'll submit invoices up to that point. It could come in less. It just depends on how much work they have to do on the design end of it, the additional work. And then the construction side, it can be pretty variable depending on how often they got to come up, who the contractor is, how many things they got to inspect over the course of the project. So a lot of times it comes in less, but that's their estimated amount.
Okay.
Here's a motion to accept the agreement for professional engineering services with CMPS on the Carnegie Building Site Improvements Project number 2021-19. That catches both of them? That's my motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, do we have any unfinished business? Okay, new business, accounts payable review.
I'd ask for approval of accounts payable pending review.
Motion to approve accounts payable pending review.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, city county cooperative projects update. I've been getting some calls from some people wanting to know what we're going to be doing as a joint. And so I asked Eric, and he brought engineer Bangy up, and
So I don't know, Eric, did you want to start, or do you want me to jump in, or?
Feel free, David. This
Okay.
is just, we want to try to get into kind of a quarterly review of the cooperative projects and where they stand. As you know, we have these ongoing throughout the course of the 5-year sales tax period, and they can bleed over from one to the next as things progress. And so we're trying to get into a routine of doing this quarterly, at least, just to make sure the commission is up to speed on where the city is at on the project. So David can take it from there, and
Sure.
any questions you have, feel free to ask. I think you might go into a little bit of what we're looking at in the future too.
Correct,
So.
yeah. So things that are probably the most immediate are things that are actually using the sales tax that we had. It's the city's current sales tax G. And so that's the Grant Street project. And so I actually brought some plans along, if you care to see them. That project is probably about 90% finished in terms of its design. We had hoped to probably be in construction of that now, but ultimately had some conversations with the water company. The water company, I think, has a 2-inch line that goes down Grant Street to serve those houses along Grant Street, and ultimately they would want to upsize that pipe, and so they don't have the funds available until the turn of the year to do that. And so rather than going in and tearing up the thing twice, we're going to delay the start of the contract to build the sidewalk until the water company has the opportunity to fix the water line. And so, again, I have those plans here if you all are interested in seeing them. But basically, it's a sidewalk that's going to go along the western side of the street, as we talked about before. The street is going to be overlaid. We're going to make some improvements to the stormwater system on the street. And then as you get to the park, we're actually going to widen the street with put a central median in there that the Parks Department then can landscape and perhaps use as a better way of kind of controlling folks as they come into the new amphitheater, et cetera. There'll be some lighting that gets added there as well.
David, the Parks, J.C. Parks is funding some of the improvements as well.
Correct, yeah, so there's some funding from J.C. Parks in the project. I think for the moment, we're looking at about $100,000 from the Parks Department going into that project.
So does this pretty much finish our,
Well, the other part of
Pass.
it, the other part of it's the MSP. And so
Oh,
there's
yeah.
money in the MSP. And so that project isn't perhaps as far along as we thought it would be. I know that there are some negotiations that are going on with the state concerning the property as proposed by the developer. There was a thought that the convention and center and hotel would actually kind of move into the property that's occupied now by, I think it's Housing Unit 5. And so I know that those conversations are still ongoing with the state as to what is going to happen with that. And so because of kind of that uncertainty, we're sort of kind of in a holding pattern in terms of what we are doing with the road. Certainly parts of the road could be constructed, with no impact on whatever it is that happens over there. But ultimately, it would be nice if the whole thing sort of fit together as a single package rather than us kind of piecing it together. So we're kind of holding on that for now in terms of, design, just kind of waiting for the pieces to all fit into place and for the development agreement to get signed and get that finalized. So we'd hoped that would be farther along now, but, ultimately, unfortunately, it's not. So that's the last project then that would have the previous sales tax money involved with it. And then kind of looking ahead to the next sales tax, of course, the collection of that sales tax for the city isn't going to begin until May of next year. But some of the projects that were on that list that probably have, probably the most momentum. Currently, we have a contract with Bartlett and West, who is doing a more in-depth study of the High Street Viaduct. And so we're hoping to get that report probably back in the next 6 weeks, with their recommendations in terms of whether or not that's a large rehab or if that's a replacement, essentially, is the question. We've also had some discussions as to whether or not we want the bridge essentially to terminate, in the same spot that it does now, which is just shy of Mulberry Street, or what used to be Mulberry Street, or if there's any intention to have that look different. We haven't come up with a better idea, and so for the moment, we're kind of moving forward with the idea that the bridge would sort of end where the bridge ends today. So that's kind of moving forward on that part. Some of the other discussions that have been going on, certainly I know there's some interest in Monroe Street. We haven't really moved forward with any of that just yet. I know that there is some discussions that there's the possibility of perhaps some other funding that could be perhaps applied for to help that project in terms of, I think, whether, I don't know the right acronym for the right pool of money, but it seems like there's some discussion that there might be some application for some additional funds for that project. And so ultimately, we need to, I think within the sales tax literature, there was $1 million that was kind of set aside for that project. And so if that is the dollar amount, then there'll have to be some decisions made in terms of exactly what we want that to look like, because certainly that dollar amount won't allow for a full rebuild of the street, and we'd have to be selective in what we do there with that. So we'll have to have some discussions into the future as to what that actually looks like. And of course, then the other kind of big category of funding within that sales tax was the stadium corridor. And so again, we haven't really, there hasn't been a final decision made in terms of what that is, but certainly, the top two contenders would be something at Edgewood Drive or perhaps something at Southwest Drive or Southwest. So again, kind of looking to see which one of those projects would be, the one that would move forward. Again, there's probably not enough funding to do both of them, but I think even as we put that onto the sales tax literature, it was an idea that it was kind of McCarty Street-esque in terms of, we're just going to start chewing at it, and it might take us, a couple of sales tax cycles to get that whole corridor improved. So that's kind of where we are. I'd be happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
I have one. 2022, would there be a way to do something with the combined money to to redo the alleyway coming out of the Sallyport. It's in pretty rough shape. Not only for the jail vein that's coming out, but for the ambulances too. They got some pretty big holes in them, if that would be possible.
Well, all of our alleys are not
Yeah, but
very
I
good.
only care about mine.
So that would be going out to the west?
Towards Madison, or not,
Monroe.
sorry.
Monroe.
Is it an alley or is it a way?
They're ways now.
They're
yeah.
all ways.
Yeah.
Always ways.
I don't know the answer to that. But
Yeah.
it's that paved area from the jail going out.
No, all of our alleys are not real good right now, David, but
Sure,
I know
yeah.
the one behind our store and Tanner Way and
We have a lot of tractor trailers that come through there too, dropping off supplies and stuff.
Yeah, that's certainly something that I can take back, and certainly if we're
even
interested in
Commercial
using
Way
cooperative
back
funds for
behind
that.
here is not, it could stand a little bit of love too.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to find my email on this, David. Campo's got a review period for some, what is it, multimodal,
Yes.
that you can go in on. I'm sorry, I can't find it right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to talk a little bit about that people can go and
Right, there's
look
a.
at, express their pleasure, displeasure, ideas.
Right, at the technical committee, there was a discussion, the Campo Technical Committee, there was a discussion about seeking a consultant to help develop a multimodal transportation plan for the area. And so, that would include both, pedestrian, transit, cycling sort of modes. And yes, I think there is a public comment period that's open currently, and ultimately that decision as to whether or not to move forward with that would be at the pleasure of the Campo board. I'm not entirely for sure when their next meeting is, but I know that there's documentation that's in terms of the RFQ that could well be available on the website. I'm not for sure. But that's kind of the extent of my knowledge of what's going on there.
Yeah, I found it as soon as you get done describing what it's all about, so. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is there's $125,000 to procure the consulting services, and it's an amendment to the UPWP, Unified
Correct.
Plan, Work Plan.
Right. So I believe that there's $100,000 of that would come out of Campo's planning funds that they receive, and then another $25,000 that would be coming from our Parks Department for that plan.
And that's on the Campo website, jeffcitymo.org.
Yes. And then you could get there from there.
David, do you see more roundabouts in our future on stadium?
I do. It's actually an interesting question. I'm going to be giving a presentation at the traffic conference up in Columbia this coming Tuesday, and my little presentation is going to be on what we saw as the successes of the Stadium and Jefferson Roundabout. And so, in putting that presentation together, we're beginning to look at, well, what other roundabouts could potentially be. And so, yes, as far as Stadium goes, we are looking at the Stadium in Edgewood traffic signal being converted to a roundabout, and simultaneously with that would be a roundabout at Edgewood and Creek Trail. And so there was a traffic study that was done, it was probably 6-ish years ago when we built Creek Trail Drive, because originally the plan had been for us to sort of upgrade what is now Tree Valley, which used to be Frog Hollow, and put in a new bridge and widen that street and make that connection, because that would have allowed, kind of a greater spacing between what is now Creek Trail Drive and Edgewood. Creek Trail Drive would have remained kind of a dead end, and so the traffic volumes wouldn't have been that heavy, and Frog Hollow would have been the main thoroughfare. In that scenario, it worked out that those things would remain traffic signals because there was enough spacing between them. But sort of in that process of developing the Creek Trail Drive and its ultimate connection to what was Frog Hollow and cutting off what was the old Frog Hollow, the intersection spacing got a whole lot closer. And so the concern at the time was, well, that spacing is going to be too tight. It's not, from a traffic safety, traffic signal standpoint, that's not going to work. And so we actually hired George Butler and Associates to do a traffic study for that whole corridor, and ultimately, they indicated that, yes, for traffic signals, that would be too tight, but roundabouts would solve that problem for us. So kind of in response to that, now these 6-7 years later, we're looking at that possibility. So certainly that is a location that we're looking at and has been kind of looked at for some time. The other is the possibility of doing a roundabout at Stadium and Southwest. That one is much harder. The grades there are very awkward. The right-of-way is very tight. And so that could be much more problematic and perhaps may never happen. But we are sort of looking at what that would mean to that area if we were to try to put something in there. So those are the two that are probably the most likely. We do have an agreement with Helias at the end of Myrtle when the city and county were involved in the reconstruction of that portion of Myrtle Street in front of their new stadium. Part of the concession from Helias was that they would grant the right-of-way necessary for a roundabout at Myrtle Street and Stadium if that were to ever happen. And so that, again, is a possibility, and sort of was our look at, being able to do something were traffic to become kind of snarled there with the new stadium being installed. But we haven't really seen that as a problem in these years since that's been built, and so we really haven't pushed on that very heavily. But that is something else that did get sketched on a piece of paper at one point in time. So that's, the only other major roadway that comes into Stadium is Satinwood. And right now that's a signalized intersection. The creek is right there. The volumes are, perhaps, less at that point. So, but that would be the only other intersection that
It
would be
floods.
along. What's that?
It floods.
It does flood. And so, we did a study, Bar Engineering did a study for us about that whole intersection and the flooding there. And ultimately had proposed a couple of different solutions for that, which included some rather large detention basins just upstream from there. Trying to prevent some flooding at the intersection, and then also on, Timber, or I can't remember the name of the street. And so, there's some solutions to the flooding there, but those are also rather large projects that I don't really foresee moving forward in the near future.
Does the city believe that the ARPA money can be used for stormwater? Have you drilled into that?
It's my understanding that at discussions with the council that they believe that there will be some of those fundings available for stormwater. I don't know all the ins and outs about that yet, but it does appear as if that's a possibility.
Yeah, we've gotten some, Senator Hawley's office has been keeping us in the loop, and stormwater is mentioned in that, so council there kind of look.
Stormwater COVID related.
No, this is rescue.
You're rescuing people from COVID in the stormwater?
The rescue allows for.
Oh, I understand it allows for it, but how does that have anything to do with COVID? Look at spending on their space station too, then.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand that at all, but that's federal stuff.
Yeah, it changes every few days.
If you can explain to me how stormwater has anything to do with COVID, then, okay, I don't.
Well,
at all.
it covers drinking water, sewer, and now we think stormwater as well. So you can if you want to make that argument about that, what's drinking water got to do with COVID?
Okay,
So,
I'll make that argument too then.
okay, go ahead.
So, you wanna get
Oh, well.
creative, I'm sure you can draw some kind of lineage to it, and it's all, can be used for anything then. So whoever had a seat at the table, I guess, gets to pick what they
Okay.
wanted it to be for.
One last one on Stadium. Do you see Stone Way, it was Stone Park, what's it called, Stone Ridge?
There's, coming out of Menards, or,
The other one. It'd be the Dick's, the Ccems that goes up.
oh,
and
right,
there's
right,
a-
right, yeah, so.
See that going south to,
Right,
I
it's
mean,
our
that-
understanding, it's Stone Ridge Parkway. So yes, actually, that was part of the same traffic study that George Butler did along that corridor, along the Edgewood corridor. And so we do envision that coming down and tying into Edgewood at some point in the future. I think the Capital Group has kind of indicated that, probably 15 years or so, they would be finished quarrying rock at that quarry. And so at that point in time, I would assume they would kind of follow the same sort of pattern that they've had with the other portions of the quarry and trying to turn that into commercial properties. And when that happens, yes, we would assume that the road would push down and tie into Edgewood. And again, the traffic study sort of indicated that that also would be a roundabout intersection. Somewhere in the neighborhood of, there's a little strip mall that's on the, what would that be, the south side of Edgewood, kind of the sort of the northern driveway into that strip mall would kind of be the area where the road would come down and tie it together.
It's all in the Western District. Okay. Well, thank you. As,
You're welcome.
As we start working on the next 5-year cycle, come back again, just so we're kind of kept in the loop.
Sure, it would be no problem at all.
Yeah.
So, appreciate you having me.
Thanks
Thanks,
again.
Mr. Yep.
Okay, Centertown Animal Ordinance. Sheriff.
You already voted on this once, you actually signed it once, the dates were incorrect. And it wasn't my fault, but I also, well, it was my fault. But anyway, it's just the same ordinance, we just changed the dates on it, so.
Are we giving it to Public Works? Is that the animal?
That's right.
Animal
Well, I was gonna
control?
wait till they left the room.
Why do you think they
but-
haven't left?
But since Health Department's not here, we can give animal control to the Health Department, I'd be good with that too.
Oh, how
That's
about
my fault. I
EMS?
told her she didn't need to be here today.
EMS is here too, so I can't.
Not qualified for that.
have a motion to have the commission sign the agreement for law enforcement services with the village of Centertown.
Second.
All in favor?
It's just for animal control.
Aye.
Yes. Okay, our famous Main Street New Marion Agreement. Jill?
Okay, so I kind of explained this to you, and Eric, you can chime in if you wish. In an email, this is a platted street that actually has never been used as a street, and
Yes.
the county has never maintained it, so it has weeds and trees. We got brought in on this lawsuit between the two landowners, property adjacent to the main street, simply because it's held in trust by the county, and we're kicked out of that, but it remains between the two of them. The owner of Rincon, the owner of one property, wants to access that street to a farm he has on the other side of his neighbor. And because it's a public right-of-way, he can do that. I mean, Public Works isn't going to clear that, but his attorney came up with this agreement, and I'm fine with it, and you're fine with it, Eric. So, just to let him clear it, if he wants to use it as a road. So, anyway, it's up to you. Make a motion.
Jill, you and I have discussed this as it
Yes.
moved along from beginning to middle to end.
Yes.
and I understand what you're saying, and I think that's the resolution that is proper. So I'll offer a motion to sign the agreement between the parties with respect to the Marion agreement, the Main Street in Marion, Missouri.
I'll second for more discussion. Why don't we just get rid of it?
You can't.
Why not?
Well, in order for the county to abandon it, everyone with property adjacent to the right-of-way, well, a petition has to be filed with the commission, and everyone with property adjacent to the right-of-way has to sign off on it. So,
You're saying we can't, but we can. If we get a petition, we get everybody to sign off on it.
but they're not going to all, it's the two neighbors.
So you're saying we can or can't?
I am saying one of the neighbors is not going to sign
Can or
off on it.
can't?
Cannot.
But you just said we can, because we'll get a petition, we can get the people that are adjacent to it to sign off on it. So we can.
It's possible, but it's not
Yes.
gonna happen, is what I'm saying.
So you're talking about vacating
Right,
the right-of-way.
yes.
Because to me, it seems like we just need to get rid of it. And,
What
you
would
said they won't.
would this happen, Jill? Because we have neighbors that disagree with one another.
Right.
One neighbor is trying to access property from where he is to where more property is. He has to cross the street to get there. If they vacate the property and the adjoining property owners get the property, he may have to drive around.
He won't be able
Uh,
to use it as a right-of-way. It'll no
He can't
longer
get,
be a
he can't
right-of-way.
get from one track to the
It
other.
won't be accessible.
Because he'll be shut off by the neighbor who.
And this is the subject of the litigation too.
Right, and that's why you won't get all the signatures you need. If one can stop it, can one,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I understand that part, but on one hand, I'm being told that I can't do it, and I love when I'm being told I can't do something. I'm gonna find a way to do it.
You can try to do it, but you won't be successful.
point.
So do you call that can or can't?
That's my point.
Well, but it's gonna
Well,
take,
you
and
can't.
we're not the one who initiates the petition. The landowners are the ones who initiate the petition, correct, Eric?
But it can be done.
They can initiate it.
I mean, don't get mad at me.
it won't be done, but it can be,
This
yeah.
is a fruitless
This is
discussion.
just like any trial you're gonna be in. You're gonna be arguing with people. That's all I'm doing is arguing both sides of it, because I don't know what all's going here. I haven't seen a map of it, so I don't know what the two neighbors are fighting about, and why we're in the middle of it. I mean, cut the baby in half and give them each half then, you know? So, I was going on the part, you said we can't do that, and technically we can, so,
But we're not.
but we can.
We can, but we're not.
Why not? Get rid of it.
We have a motion and a second.
This
Call for the
this agreement
question.
wouldn't say we couldn't do that in the future.
So you're
Yeah.
gonna let him maintain the property for so long, at what
Yeah.
point do they come back and say, well, we've been maintaining it for this long, now we wanna keep it, adverse possession, you know? So then it
No,
draws another
because-
muddy.
It's a
It's
platted,
not
water there,
adverse.
too.
it's a platted
No,
right
it's
of way.
governed by statute.
I call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye, cause I don't know enough about it right now, so. All I saw was there's lawsuits on it, and we really didn't have any pictures of it or anything, so. It's kinda the first we was
Yeah.
told that we had to agree to let him cut the grass on it is what we're agreeing to.
He's clearing the weeds and trees
Okay.
in order to use it as a right-of-way.
Okay, signing of the
He's using it as a
2021.
driveway, he's not using it as a right of way. God, if you didn't like to argue, you shouldn't have been an attorney.
Okay, Eric, signing of the 2021 agreement with CCEMS and JC Fire Department.
This is signing of the memorandum of understanding between us and the fire department. Currently, the talks for the 2021 MOU were suspended prior to my arrival. So Chief Schofield has asked that we sign an extension to the 2020 MOU due to our teams functioning well in the field and our organizations working well together at this point, with the understanding that him and myself would come to a mutual agreement on a 2022 MOU prior to the beginning of the year. So I ask that you sign an extension of the 2020 MOU through the end of this year with the goal of negotiating one for next year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Seen emails back and forth on them.
A motion to renew the EMS MOU agreement between the city and the county that extends the current agreement through 12/31/21.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Still having fun, Eric?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Still gotta meet your wife. I saw her in the parade. Okay. Do we have anything else before we go into closed session?
That's gonna be on the city council agenda on the 20th.
Okay.
Did we ever decide anything on the judge's chairs? We had a couple of emails going back and forth on that too, that a couple different options on that.
I think anywhere we go where it's gonna be like $1,400. It's just.
Well, yeah, and that's what we asked either the judge or Jessica to do, to find out the pricing on them and where we're at on that. If it's the chairs that we've been getting for up there, I guess we just gotta pick one and
Yeah,
go
I
with
think.
it. But it looked like the one from,
I don't think we need a state of Missouri seal on it.
Jessica's still here, she left. So we have, I haven't found it. We got MVE and then
Samco, yeah.
and she said we would not be over the bid limit with Samco if we go with those, and they were less, so. Do we wanna just go with that and get it going, or are we gonna?
I think we need to get him a chair. He's probably sitting on a wooden crate or something right now. I don't
I
know.
don't think they're sitting on wooden crates. There's two chairs, that one, so. It's 1411 at Samco and 1632.
Yeah.
With MVE. So if we just wanna get it going, get it done with, if it's okay, we just go with the lower of the two, and what do y'all wanna do with it?
That sounds fine to me,
Okay,
to do the Samco.
so,
I'll tell Jessica to proceed with the Samco one to get a PO out there.
Yes.
And for her to let the judge know.
there.
Yes.
Feel like we did something today now. No, I just get to clear those emails off.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, well, yeah, I agree.
okay.
Anything else?
I think that's it for now. Wore me down.
Oh, Jeff.
All right, we're ready for closed session then?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to section 610.021. Subsection 13 and 3, personnel issues.
Second.
Roll call?
Harry,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
Yes.
Why don't we do the emergency